Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of The Night Sitter. Cast and crew information down below, and start with the IMDb plot. A con artist poses as a babysitter to steal from a wealthy occult enthusiast. One of the kids she is sitting unwittingly summons a trio of witches known as the Three Mothers. Alright. So this one I saw on Amazon. So get that out of the way off the start. As you know, I'm often confused where I see these things. That one was on Amazon. And another one where I was just kind of skimming through, what can I watch, and just kind of landed on it, and I said, okay, I'll give this a try. I've, surprisingly, there's a lot of movies over the last couple of years about babysitting and, the horrors that come with that. And I completely would expect to feel almost oversaturated by that by now, or feel like, oh, we've seen this scenario. Why do we have to see this again? I'm dying to say that, but I think overall, these films are doing a good job of bringing something to the table that's interesting or fun. Or I think a lot of these movies, what they have in common is that they're fun. Usually they're horror comedies. This one's listed as a horror comedy. And I guess the comedy element gives each one of these movies its unique setting, or just keeps it entertaining enough. Where I think if all of these movies were straight horror, you might probably be saying by now, how many times can you have a babysitter go to a house and something bad happen? We get the point. But then again, how many times can you take kids out to a cabin and something bad happens? It's done over and over. So, this setting kind of works. And, I know another one I did, I think maybe a month or two ago, I think was called The Babysitter. And, again, another babysitting movie here. And I really enjoyed that one. So, I kind of landed on this one. I don't remember, that when I looked at it, the title sounded familiar, and maybe I did hear of it, back when it got released. This was 2018. So, I was thinking that maybe this is a movie that I missed that I should have seen. I'm not sure. Or maybe I was thinking of something else. Regardless, here you have, again, let's go with the setup here. A babysitter comes over, and it's a little awkward because you would have thought the father in this case would have done a little bit more research, or been a little more familiar with who he has coming over sitting for his son. But he seems okay with it. He introduces this babysitter, Amber, who comes in, and you get the feeling off the bat that she's kind of full of it, and maybe not done this a whole lot, but it's definitely pulling one over on the father. The father just seems concerned. He's got a date, and he's concerned with that. He wants to go out on the date, and a couple of things he mentions it. He mentions to stay clear of this room. He's got a room locked up in the house where he doesn't want anybody to go in, and so he kind of makes it a point for nobody to go in there, but then kind of drops a hint, and obviously that this door is going to get open. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free. I know this is 2018, so maybe some of you have already seen this. But if you haven't, so I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. But the IMDb plot basically tells you everything you need to know. So yeah, I guess he does drop a hint about the room, and about how to get into it. So yeah, I think it's pretty well versed here that you know that if bad things are going to happen, that door is going to have to come open. Um, so you have a kid here, Kevin. That's the father's son. You know, his father describes him as someone who stays in his room a lot and is not interested in coming out. You see him there. He's got weird drawings on the wall, and he seems like a quiet kid, and does kind of seem like, you know, he's not going to cause too many problems here. But the person who I believe it was the person that the father's going on the date with comes over and drops off her son as well, who's obviously a friend of Kevin's, and he's a little bit more outgoing. They kind of paint him as maybe, you know, he looks in the same age group as Kevin, but maybe is, or just maybe a little bit more mature or a little more aware of the world around him, or maybe it's more typical of that age kid. So he comes over to stay too. So you have a babysitter here with two kids, and you know, the father eventually leaves, and she's left to entertain them. They order pizza. Of course, she makes a couple of mysterious phone calls, because they all do. They always have to call somebody, expecting somebody to eventually come over at some point. You have a neighbor across the street who noticed when she came over. I think he got a glimpse of her. He kind of likes her, so he comes over. He is, let's call him a horror fan. You know, let's just call him at that. So he comes over, just checks on things, and then goes about his business. And you know, you get a little bit acquainted here with the kids and so forth. And Kevin makes it known that he's had nightmares or dreams of these three faces. And so he's a little bit worried about that, and he's worried about that by the time it comes time for him to go to sleep. So, you know, the babysitter here, Amber, she does all she can to get him to go to sleep and ease his mind of these three faces, and kind of lays down with him and gets him to eventually fall asleep. They do, you know, this kind of dream sequence kind of thing. They kind of, you know, drop in the hints of this evil that's around or so forth. And a really funny scene there with the other kid in the room there. There's a very entertaining scene there. Prime for some of that age. He gets lucky in a way, and then things kind of get to the point here. You know, maybe, you know, they draw that out a little bit there, but, you know, they kind of want to get everybody comfortable. And then finally you see people come to the house. Another guy comes to the house with his girlfriend. This girlfriend doesn't really get along with Amber. They don't, or at least Amber doesn't really like her. But this, you know, this other woman is kind of playing the dumb blonde kind of role, who's trying to go out of her way to like Amber or be friends with her, but kind of knows that maybe she doesn't like her. But Amber's relying on this other guy to basically help rob this house. You know, it seems like, you know, she's ready to move on to her next stop, and really needs to this score in order to move on. So that, and then she has a so-called boyfriend come over as well. You know, it almost seems like somebody that maybe she's strung along. You know, she doesn't seem, you know, all that attached to him. She kind of plays on him a little bit to get him to do certain things, but he's not totally interested in robbing the house. He's a little bit more interested in talking her out of it, or just he doesn't want to get caught, and not sure of the situation, especially when things get a little bit darker. So they're interested. They're about to rob the house. You know, it's a little funny, and then also the couple that shows up to rob also has done a little drugs before they got there. So they're not completely there. and not making this a very efficient operation. Um, and long and behold, the door gets opened and basically unleashes the evil here. The witches come out to play, and I guess I will kind of, I've covered a lot. um, I don't know again if I'm really spoiling everything. I think if you read the synopsis of this or follow what I said at the beginning, you kind of know what's going to happen here. So I'll kind of leave it at that. I'll just say the witches are unleashed. And I guess the real fun of the movie basically starts happening. Blood and guts are spilled. I like the way, there's a dark feel to the movie, but then there's this added color in some of the scenes and so forth. So I liked that. There was some blood that is spilled, which is always fun. I'm a blood and guts guy, so I enjoyed that. As for the comedy in the movie, it's okay. I'm not saying it's a drop dead comedy. Maybe it's a little bit of people being stupid in a certain way. I didn't think it was drop dead hilarious or anything like that. I don't think you'd be falling out of your seat. I guess another way to think of it is when they throw in comedy in there. Kind of lessening the strictness of the horror in the movie. It's not hardcore horror here, but it's not hardcore comedy either. I don't think there's too much in there where you're just going to be falling out of your seat, laughing or anything like that. But I thought it was entertaining enough. It had an entertainment value to it. And again, I don't remember what I rated The Babysitter. The fault in doing these video reviews, I don't remember what I rate stuff. I think I liked The Babysitter maybe a little bit more. I definitely thought that was a lot funnier. That was again another horror comedy set in the same kind of circumstance here, similar circumstance here. That one was also bloody as well. But I think that one was a lot funnier than this one. But I still enjoyed this one enough. Don't get me wrong, I didn't hate it. Not huge fabulous movie either. But I did like the end because I thought it did get bloody, a little crazy, a little back and forth once the witches come out. I do like, there's more involvement from, I guess, like I call him the horror fan next door. He kind of gets involved a little bit, and I at least enjoyed him. I guess, you can say there's a little humor with his character as well. So I did enjoy that aspect of it, and, he might be relatable to some. But yeah, I think I'm going to give it 2.5 pools of blood. I didn't hate it, but I'm not going out of my way to say that I love this one. I think, there's some horror for you in the end, and some sprinkling of comedy in there. I didn't think any of the characters were over comedic. Sometimes you have that one that kind of steals the show, but each kind of had their role in it. And then there's a few good things that happen along the lines with the witches. And the kids were cool too. I think they served their role. But I didn't think they did anything over spectacular here. And a lot of the focus, sometimes this movie, these kind of movies, sometimes they do a good combination with whoever the main kid is being babysit and the babysitter. Sometimes it's almost even with what's going on there, or sometimes they maybe lean a little bit more towards the kid. This one I think leans more towards the babysitter, or the night sitter in this case. So it definitely leans towards her and her story, and follows her a little bit more closely than the kid. Obviously the kid is the reason why the witches are there, and why the horror of the movie comes. So he's obviously important, but I think a lot of the movie is focused on the night sitter. And obviously, it's a little bit of a story of her overcoming too, because, they kind of paint her as, trying to be cool with the kids, but she has alternative motives, and she really just focused on robbing the house, but in turn is tasked with having to save the kids. I guess I will. Let me just double check. It doesn't say. Does it say? I don't immediately find a rating on this, but I would assume it's rated R because there is something that I was surprised to see. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I was surprised to see it in that. Maybe why there's no rating here, and would probably definitely make it at least a rated R thing, and something that you don't see in a lot of horror movies, at least a lot of horror movies that are set here in the U.S. And again, I don't want to spoil it, so I guess I'll leave it at that. But I guess that was a little bit of a shocker there, or at least I didn't expect to see that happen. And I credit the film for doing that, because lots of films won't do that, and it can be tough for May to see, and you don't typically want to see that. But again, this is horror, and I don't see why we don't see it a little bit more often. I know it's tough at times, and it's tough if you want your movie to be seen and the ratings and so forth. But again, it's horror, so why not? I do give it credit in that respect, and I'm glad I remembered that, because that's something I wanted to mention. So again, 2.5 pools of blood. Somewhere we're going down the middle here, and I think it's not bad if you guys want to check it out. And again, that's on Amazon. And then if you're looking for another one, I did a review for The Babysitter, I believe maybe a month or two ago. But I did enjoy The Babysitter a little bit more, and I don't remember where I saw that, either Netflix or Amazon, one of those two. I can't keep them straight here. But yeah, 2.5 pools of blood. We'll wrap this up. Subscribe to the channel if you want more video reviews. horrorsgorereviews.blogspot.com. Link is down below for more reviews, including written ones. And you'll find my social media down there as well. And feel free to hit me up on social media about this movie and any others. And also in the comment section, agree or disagree if you hated this one. Didn't get a very great rating on IMDb, so if you hated this one more than apparently I did, feel free to let me know. I don't care. I don't mind you disagreeing with me. That's part of why we do this. But if you love this more than I did, let me know as well. Again, that I don't have a problem with that. Everybody views movies in different ways, and that's why we have these reviews, so we can have something to talk about, good or bad. So with that, I will be moving on to the next review, and I will catch you later, horror fans.